Hey class, today what we're going to look at is the types of fossils. Not only the way that we get them out of the ground, but also the different kinds that can be found and the different ones that we find in Montana. So here we go. General overview. There are two general types of fossils or categories that fossils fit in. One is body fossils. So these are fossilized parts of an organism, the ones you're familiar with when you think of teeth or claws or shells or wood. Please write those examples above the pictures in your notes. And again, you'll be taking notes on this note sheet. We're going to fill out this whole side of the note sheet. And if I go too fast, please pause it or stop so that you can get all the information you need. The second type of fossils that we're going to take a look at is what are called trace fossils. And these are not what you would normally think of. These are tracks, footprints, nests, and the always exciting one, coprolite, which basically is fossilized poo. Why would you study fossilized poo? Well, because then you can understand what the organism ate. So those are all very helpful, and what plants were around and what other animals were around to be eaten at that time. So these are the two types, categories of fossils. And how do we get a fossil? We get a fossil through this process called mineralization, sometimes called permineralization. And essentially you have a bone, it gets buried under the ground, water seeps through the ground that has minerals in it. The minerals dissolve out the bone material and they replace the bone with a perfect copy made of minerals. So you're actually not finding fossilized poop per se or fossilized bones. A lot of times you're actually finding it replaced by minerals itself. There are some situations where we find the actual material, but most of the time it has been mineralized. Okay, so how do we find minerals or fossils in the ground? There are several ways. Typically we find them in what's called an articulated fossil. This one is kind of rare. This is the creature is all put together. It'd be like going to the store and opening up buying a puzzle, and you take it home and you open it up and it's already put together in the box. The second way we can find them is what's called an associated fossil. This is more like what you would expect. All the pieces are there, but they're mixed up. So again, it's like buying a puzzle. You open it up and they're all mixed up in the box. That's how you'd expect to find it. Another one is isolated fossil. This is an incomplete creature. So it could be a skull, it could be some teeth, it could be some claws. In this case, it's a leg bone. It is not the entire creature. But we don't have unlimited fossils, so we can learn everything even from incomplete ones. And the last one is what's called a bone bed or a bone site. And this is multiple creatures in the same area. And so we find lots and lots of them. A good example of this is the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, where all these creatures kept going and getting stuck in tar and dying. And the predators would come along and look, a free lunch, and they would get stuck in the tar and they would die. And so there are lots and lots and lots and lots of fossils found in the same area. And allows us to compare and contrast and learn a lot about different species that way. So these are the fossil forms the forms that fossils are found in. What are some fossils that we find in Montana that are unique to Montana? There's lots and lots of them. Here's just a few. The first one is called Troodon. Troodon is in the Velociraptor family, so forward-facing eyes, stereoscopic vision, big brain cavity. They probably hunted in packs, very efficient at it. Their name means wound tooth, and some scientists even think that had they survived today, they would have evolved into upright walking sapien, which means thinking beings like you and I, so that there would be another humanoid type creature evolved from dinosaurs, which sounds a little science fiction-y. This was actually the first fossil named in North America. Next up is the Maiasaura. Maiasaura stands for good mother lizard, and it's for good reason, because it was the first fossil egg nest found in North America. And prior to this find, paleontologists thought that dinosaurs were cold-blooded, like lizards, that they would lay their eggs and they would leave. But they found a fossilized egg nest, they found juvenile dinosaurs, and they found adult dinosaur fossils there, which showed that they actually stayed there and they cared for their young, much like an egg-laying species today that does the same thing, lays eggs and stays there. That's birds. So they figured they were more warm-blooded, like birds. And that has completely changed the way we think about dinosaurs because of that fossil find in Montana. Next up is what's called a stromatolite. Stromatolites are not as exciting as dinosaurs. They're algae mats, but they lived billions of years ago. There are still some surviving off the western coast of Australia today. And these may have been the organisms that produced oxygen on this planet today, or first produced oxygen on the Earth. And they show us what the climate was like a billion years ago. We find these in Glacier National Park. And our favorite is the Tyrannosaurus, which stands for Tyrant Lizard King. It's crazy, about 30 places in the world, a little more than that. No, maybe it's 60 places in the world. Tyrannosaurus rex fossils have been found, and half of those have been in Montana. The first complete one was found in Montana in 1988. So again, we've had some very rich history of dinosaur fossils in Montana. Most of the Triceratops, most of the Ankylosaurus, that's the one with the club tail, have been found in Montana, and lots of other ones because it was such good habitat. So fossils actually are pretty darn rare. We don't find them very often because organisms live and die in different environments, and it doesn't always lead to fossilization. It's estimated that 1 out of every billion bones becomes a fossil. What does that mean? That means if you took all the people in the United States and for some reason they all died, that out of the 206 bones in a human body times over 300 million people, that somewhere in the United States there would be 50 bones fossilized. And the odds of finding that are really small. So that's why fossils are such a big deal. They often get destroyed by lots of Earth's actions, whether it's plate tectonics or volcanoes or earthquakes or whatever. And only some of the fossils that form are actually found and studied. So this is a process that makes it difficult to find fossils themselves. So you've got a table to fill out on the path discovery. So here's what it looks like. Make sure you get that filled out in your notes. A lot of steps lead to the fossils or the remains of the organism being destroyed, being decomposed. And if the process works out great and they all get preserved and they actually get discovered, then we find a new fossil. Today, what you're going to do is look at the types of fossils and the fossils found in Montana in a worksheet. So good luck with